So, up until this point, everything that I've documented has been in writing, and I wanted to share my birth story. Um, and I was just going to do that on the blog, but I kind of felt like I should record it and tell it instead of writing it. So, here we go. Um, Ever since I was younger, for some reason, I think probably because my mom gave birth naturally, I always wanted to give birth naturally. And that's just always been something that I wanted to do. And then when we conceived Kurt here, hi honey, through IVF, and everything was medicated, and nothing about the IVF process was natural or romantic, and everything was controlled by our doctor. I really, really wanted to make sure that the birthing process was natural and was not brought on by medication. I wanted it to be something that I did, something that I had control over, and I wanted to feel every bit of it, because through IVF I just wasn't able to feel anything. It was just so predictable, I guess. And so I just wanted our birth to just come naturally. I wanted to feel every pain. So in January, Colton and I took a hypnobirthing course. And I had seen my sister do hypnobirthing, and I heard so many good things about it. So that's what I wanted to do. So that is what I have been practicing for the last 6 months. There was a 5-week course, and what I learned there was amazing. How to meditate, how to control my mind, how to relax, how to breathe, and I was so excited to use those methods during the birthing process. Are you listening to everything? Huh? He was sleeping before I started recording. um, and so like the last few weeks before I was due, I was like hardcore meditating every day. I was taking it very seriously. I was practicing, and I was able to get into a very, very deep meditation. And so I was super excited. I had a plan and an idea of how exactly it was going to go. So, before we left Phoenix, I had an ultrasound with my OB, and he told me that Kurt was head down, and everything looked great. And then we moved here to Idaho, and was seeing my midwife, and she checked me each week. She didn't do an ultrasound, but she, felt Kurt, and sure enough, he was still head down, and everything was looking fine. And then I had an appointment. I was like 39 and a half weeks, so it was just days before I was due. Are you gonna cry? Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Anyway, so I was due on Saturday, and I went in for the appointment on Wednesday. I go in, she checks me, heartbeat's good. She checks his position. She said he was head down. Well, she was feeling me, and I was like, hey, like he's always bulging on this side. Like on my right side, he was always like, it was like a really big bulge. And so I was just curious, like, what do you think that is? Like, you think it's his bum, or his knees or whatever. I was just curious. And so she was feeling around and she's like, yeah, that feels like it's his bum. And then she asked, do you want to do an ultrasound? Just nonchalantly, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, sure, that'd be cool. Like I haven't had an ultrasound in a while and it'd be fun to see him. Um, and so we went into the other room and did an ultrasound, and immediately she was like, wait a minute, that's his head. And his head was up in my ribs, and he was breech. And she looked at me and she was like, this changes everything. And immediately I was like, kind of freaking out. Actually, really freaking out. And she left and then came back and she was like, okay, we need to weigh our options. What are our options? He's breech and you're full term. And so she had one of the OBs come in and he basically told me that he could try to move him or to flip him, which could be a very painful process for me and risks for Kurt. And so, like, that freaked me out. And then he told me that there at the hospital, they do not deliver breech babies. So that was not an option. So it was either try to flip him and hopefully he flips and then I could give, birth vaginally, or we do a C-section. And up until that point, a C-section was never part of our plan. Like, I knew that, in case of an emergency or, something goes wrong, like we might have to do one. But no, I was giving birth naturally. He was coming out vaginally. And I was going to use my hypnosis that I had been practicing for the longest time. And it was going to be great. And so when the doctor's telling me this, I like seriously went into like a panic attack. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. Colton wasn't there at the appointment. And the doctor was like, well, we could try to flip him right now. And if it doesn't work, we could just do a C-section tonight. And I was like, I could have my baby like today. So like that stressed me out. And then I was having to use my meditation hypnosis right then and there to try to calm myself from this dramatic change. Anyway, so that day was spent that day and Thursday were spent trying to figure out what we should do. We didn't really have many options. It was either try to flip him and hopefully it works, or a C-section. And after much prayer and consideration, Colton and I didn't feel like trying to flip him was the right thing to do. That's just how we felt. And so, oh, there he is. We scheduled a C-section for Friday morning. And so Friday morning came, and I actually started having contractions at like 3 in the morning. They were pretty consistent and pretty strong. I was having to really breathe through them, and so I did get to use my hypnobirthing a little bit that morning. Anyway, so we went into the hospital and, got checked in. And the C-section was actually very, very difficult for me. When we went into the OR, Colton wasn't allowed in for the first little bit. They gave me my spinal, which made me numb from basically my chest down. I could still feel pressure and, them moving me, but I couldn't obviously feel any pain or temperature. So when I went in there and the lights were bright, there's so many different doctors in there doing so many different things. Immediately the anesthesiologist, sticks the needle in my back. Just seconds later, I can't feel anything. They lay me down. They cover me up. And this is all just within, minutes. And Colton comes in, and he's all dressed in his I don't know, operating clothes. And immediately they just start working on me, and I can feel them cutting me open. I can feel every, I can feel, but I can't feel. It's not the kind of feeling I wanted to feel. Um, but they at 10:17 on Friday morning, um, sweet little Kurt was born, and I was actually feeling really really awful. Um, the operation's actually it was really difficult for me. I was feeling really lightheaded, lots of acid reflux. Um, they asked me if I wanted to put him skin to skin, and I wanted to so bad. That is what I wanted. But I couldn't. I felt terrible, and I couldn't handle him being on me. So luckily Colton was able to put him on his chest and hold him skin to skin, and that meant a lot to me, and I know a lot to him. Um, it's just really not what I imagined it. My birth plan was to use the hypnobirthing, and then Colton was going to catch him. He was going to pull him out and hold him and then put him on me. And it was just going to be this calm, quiet, dim lights, music, birthing experience. And that's not what it was at all whatsoever. And so that's actually been really difficult for me to wrap my mind around. Just changing, being able to accept that what I wanted and what actually happened was so different. And I really think I know it was a blessing, um, that we happened to do that ultrasound and found out that he was breech. Because if I would have gone into labor with him being breech, we would have had to do an emergency C-section, because like I said before, they don't deliver breech babies, and I wouldn't have wanted to stand that risk anyway. But he's here, safe and sound and healthy, and I'm slowly recovering. Taking a shower is about as much as I can do. That's also something that I've had to accept. In the hospital, I wasn't able to even get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I had a catheter the whole time I was there, which means I couldn't even get up to hold him, to change his diaper, which was a difficult challenge for me because I wanted to be there for him and I couldn't be. And it was just really hard because, like I said before, everything to get pregnant was medicated and doctor driven, and that's not how I wanted my birth to be, his birth to be, and it totally changed at the very last second, and it ended up being the doctors had control, and so did the medicine, and it's just been really hard to accept that, but so glad he's here and safe and healthy. And I've just realized that we're so blessed to have doctors and medicine and technology. And sometimes the Lord uses what we have nowadays to help us. And I know that that's been the case for us. And then if you're wondering why my face looks so weird, I have Bell's palsy, which means half of my face is unresponsive. So, like, I only blink with one eye and only, like, one side smiles. So that's another thing I've been dealing with. Apparently a lot of pregnant women get it, but you can get it after birth, obviously. But it's caused by stress, an inflammation of the nerve caused by stress. So, not really surprised on that one because it was a very stressful few days. But anyway, just another thing that we've had to go through. But anyway, that's my birth story. and just wanted to share that with you. Um, I know the Lord's hand is in everything, and I'm so grateful that He's been here with us and our family and our baby Kurt. And although it's not been easy. None of it's been easy. Getting pregnant wasn't easy. Having him, with the C-section was not easy. Um, it's all been worth it. It's so worth it, and so grateful that he can be here now, and that no matter how our babies come, how they're born, the Lord's hand is in it all, and I truly believe that. So there we go. Happy 2 weeks, Kurt. Can't believe it's already been 2 weeks. Oh, and another cool thing. I meant to say this at the beginning, but anyway. Exactly 1 year ago today is when Colton and I first met with Dr. Moffat, our IVF doctor. So I would have never imagined that 1 year later, from the day we met with him to talk about IVF, that I would have a 2-week-old little baby boy.